Welcome to the Shay on this crisp December afternoon. Neil Aspin and Lee Gregory have taken plenty of plaudits this season, but a lot of work goes on behind the scenes at FC Halifax Town. I'm here to talk to Director of Business Development Debbie Charlton, who joined the club earlier this year.
Yeah.
Welcome to Showman Player, Debbie. You joined FC Halifax Town in mid-June. How do you assess your opening 6 months at the club?
It's been very busy. I've got involved in launching a lottery and we had a sponsors evening, which they've never had before. Managed to secure an away shirt sponsor, the back of the home shirt. In and amongst, obviously we've got sporting dinner coming up, so it's extremely busy day today.
Now, of course, we'll touch on those sponsorships a little later on, but you've got quite a distinguished career, and you joined FC Halifax Town from Bradford Bulls. What made you leave Bradford Bulls?
Well, just to cut a long story short, the Bradford Bulls went into administration in July 2012, and basically we all got made redundant. So I decided to take a bit of time out of sport full time, although worked for a company where the owner was a major director of Guiseley Football Club.
Right, okay.
So I ended up doing some stuff with Guiseley. I knew David Buzzensworth and Bobby Ham from when I was at the Bulls when we went to Valley Parade for a couple of years. So I just contacted them, decided I wanted to get back into sport full time, and they got straight back to me and asked me to come and talk to them, and the rest is history really. So nice to be back in sport full time.
Yes, and of course you said what made you get into commercialism and business in sport as opposed to, say, a corporate company?
Okay, when I first left school, which I did leave school at 16, which I know isn't a great advertisement these days, but I did, I went into newspapers, advertising for the local Wharf Valley Times, and then I went to the Yorkshire Evening Post, and one of my key accounts there was Leeds Rugby League Club at the time. They asked me to go work there, which I did for 3 years, and then from there a job came up at Bradford, and I was there for 15 years. So that's really how I ended up in the sales side of sport.
Now, of course, you're very experienced, as you've just touched on there. How much, commercially wise, how much potential does FC Halifax Town have?
Oh, there's massive potential out there, but people just need to be asked the question. It's obviously at the moment we're still a part-time club, so I think as we grow and hopefully, well, we will do, I'm sure, get back into the Football League, things will transpire from that and just generally get bigger. What I have found in football is that the fans and the local businesses, small or large, are very passionate about supporting their local teams. I think we could do with expanding that out of the area as well, but very much so I think Halifax is the main concentration point at the moment.
And of course, remaining on Halifax, there's a lot of local sponsorship deals that you touched on earlier.
Yeah.
I believe MBI are going to be
Yeah.
sponsoring away shirts.
Yeah.
I think Hanson Plywood as well.
Yeah.
Are local sponsorships your bread and butter?
Yeah, I think obviously locally to Halifax, you really want to go to the people that are going to get the business from the Halifax area. How I work and always have worked is I don't just go and do a sponsorship deal and walk away and they get all the benefits like tables and programme adverts and stuff. I want to work with them as a partner so that they get what they want out of the sponsorship deal. So I think locally is a starting point there. Obviously, if we got somebody nationally, that'd be great, but it's a lot easier to work with people in the local area to make sure they get the value for money out of the sponsorship.
Of course, there are other sponsorships as well. If you purchase the home match day programme, you can do player sponsorships. What's the process of sponsoring a player for supporters who'd like to do it in the future?
They just need, I mean, obviously my contact details are in the programme. In fact, my contact details are just about everywhere. But if they want to sponsor a player, they can just contact me. I'd very much like to speak to people who do want to do that to see if they want to get in anything specific out of it. Obviously, whether they want it to use the player for maybe an event that they're holding or opening of a shop or a business. Obviously, if it's individuals, if they're putting down a child's name, maybe they want to meet that player. But obviously, I want to make sure that they get the value for money from it.
Now, if you could sponsor any Halifax player, who would you sponsor?
you see, you're asking me a question there because I'm only just getting used to knowing who the players are. Probably your obvious ones are Danny Lowe, Ryan Toulson. They're the ones that obviously I use obviously locally as well for events and stuff that we do, and they've been a great support to me as well. And the coaching staff, you know, Neil, the physio, the assistant coaches, the kit man, Ellie. I think they get forgotten about sometimes, and they do a really important job. So
yeah, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah, there is, yes.
But of course, there's also a lottery, Calderdale lottery service that you've unveiled, and you unveiled that, I believe, with Danny Lowe. That was like
Danny Lowe, yes, we did.
Just to touch on about that, what sort of project is that?
Basically, I mean, every the Bulls and Leeds have been involved in launching lotteries, and it's very much to support sport and youth development in the Calderdale area, initially concentrating obviously on FC Halifax Town. It's £2 a week, and you could win up to £5,000, and there's, like there is with the lottery, if you get 3 numbers you get £25. We are doing the first draw against Cambridge on the 18th of January, so people can still join now and again. They just need to contact me, or the form is on the website as well, netbuster.com.
Oh, brilliant. And just going back to Bradford Bulls, I was reading it. You've done some quirky sponsorship and like fundraising initiatives. I was reading there was a sleepover at the stadium, Providence Stadium.
You have researched it, yes, and I was there freezing to death. Yeah, we did it for it was for a children's charity, homeless children's charity, and we did a sleepover to raise funds for them. One very, 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 very cold night at the end of October, I think it was, a couple of years ago. But it's good fun, and it's good morale as well, because a lot of the staff did it. And yeah, it was interesting, but extremely cold, I have to say. Is another sponsored sleepover at the Shea on the cards, or was it just a one-off? Well, we can obviously charities locally, which I know we do a lot of support. The chairman supports a lot of the charities locally, but anything like that, it's good for the community, it's good for the fans, and it's good for obviously spirit with the club as well. And I do think it is something we would look at in time. Now, obviously, as of next year, there will also be there's going to be a sponsored dinner, I believe, with Kevin Keegan as a guest speaker. Sporting dinner, the 21st of February, yeah. Just embellish on that. What sort of night is it going to be? They hold this similar time every year. Obviously, I haven't actually been to an FC Halifax Town one, but have organised many a dinner over the years. It's attended by about 500 people at Cedar Court in Bradford. Kevin Keegan's the main speaker. From what I'm being told, it's an extremely enjoyable evening. The chairman does put a lot of time into making sure that it's an extremely high-class evening for fans, sponsors, and anybody to come and buy tickets for. Again, they just need to contact me. Now, the Shea, obviously, is great facilities, a really big stadium. I was just curious to know if the Shea, at the end of the season, could hold a concert and you were organising it and you could invite any singer or any band, who would you choose? Take That. Take That? Yeah. That was instant? Yeah. Why? Oh, do you know what? Take That first time round, I remember sitting in my car, and I was rep at the time for a newspaper. I remember sitting in my car and crying when they split up. That's really sad, I have to say. But yeah, definitely Take That. Take That, fair enough. Okay. And of course, the Shea's held the Rugby League World Cup as well, and many Scrub Premier games this season. But as obviously in your role on a match day, do you get to take in the match, or do you have to do a lot of work as the match is being played? It very much depends on how busy we are and what there is to do. I'm trying to take in a lot more football and trying to understand it. Pete Stadgick, who is an associate director here, he's been giving me a few lessons, and I've watched Match of the Day with my dad a few times, because I am, as everybody knows, a rugby league girl, so football is very much something that I'm new to understanding, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I do get to watch. I try and get to watch as much as I can. Oh, good stuff. But another scenario, if I was to, one hand I had rugby league tickets, the other football match, football tickets, what would you choose? I've got to be careful what I say here. It depends what game it was. It's your interview, you can choose whatever you want. Rugby league, unless it was FC Halifax Town, and then obviously I wouldn't miss an FC Halifax Town game for a rugby league match. No, fair, good answer. That's a fair answer. But do you think that recently the UEFA president Michel Platini suggested that sin bins should be invited into football? Mm. Would you agree with that? I do, yeah. Yeah. Do you reckon there's better discipline in rugby matches than say football? In in certain ways, yeah. I do think, we were talking about this at the weekend actually, I do think sometimes referees in football seem to make a decision that maybe not the right one, and there'd be, if there was sin binning, it may be an option. But I don't think, I think they're totally different sports, to be fair.
Yeah.
So.
And sexism in football or rugby league, have you ever encountered that?
Some people have made comments over the years, women in sport, but I think that's a very old-fashioned attitude now, and you don't tend to get it. When I first started in rugby league, which was like the early 90s, showing my age there, it was different then. You didn't really get any women in high positions in sport, but that's very much changed now in rugby and football. So I think more women could get involved. I think women in football, certainly in a commercial marketing role, are good at doing the job. I'm bound to say that, but yeah,
that's
I do.
Good. Well,
yeah.
of course, there's Karen Brady at West Ham, she's on The Apprentice, and there's someone at Mansfield Town called, I think, Caroline Radford as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're in a minority, but you're doing, like you say, a very good job. But what would you say to women, you know, who aspire to do what you do and to get an executive role at a club? What would your message be to them?
You've just got to have the confidence to go. I think women generally don't think they're ever going to get into that role. Mm-hmm. I've taken a lady called Sarah Williams, who works at the Bulls now. I took her on for work placement from Huddersfield Uni, and she's fantastic at what she does, and she had the confidence and the willpower to make sure she was going to succeed in it. And I think that's what you've got to have. You've not got to think of it any other than it's a normal job. It's in sport, and yeah, you are surrounded by men most of the time, but you've just got to have the confidence to do it as a woman.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that concludes the interview. Thanks for your time.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank
okay.
You.